John Martinez stood in the center of the huge glass chamber, looking up at 47 alien faces staring down at him. The Galactic Council chamber was bigger than any building on Earth. Crystal walls stretched up so high that the ceiling disappeared into darkness. Strange lights floated in the air, turning alien words into sounds he could understand. John had been Earth's ambassador for 3 years. He thought he knew these aliens. He thought they respected humans. He was wrong. Chancellor Vexithari looked like a giant blue spider with too many eyes. Her voice echoed through the chamber when she spoke. The Galactic Council has made its decision about the human species. John felt his heart beating faster. Around him, aliens shifted in their floating seats. Some looked sad. Others looked angry. A few looked pleased, which worried him most of all. Humans are too dangerous. Vexithari continued. You fight too much. You make weapons too quickly. You take risks that put everyone in danger. John stepped forward. Chancellor, humans have been good members of this council. We have followed all the rules. We have helped other species when they asked. A creature that looked like a walking tree made a sound like wind through leaves. The translator turned it into words. You helped by bringing war to 3 different star systems. Those were defensive actions, John said. The Rigelian Trade Federation attacked our colonies first, and you responded by building quantum tunneling weapons, said another alien. This one was covered in silver scales and had no mouth. It spoke through its skin somehow. Weapons that could destroy entire planets. John felt sweat on his forehead. We built those weapons to protect ourselves. We never used them against civilian targets. Vexithari raised one of her many arms. The chamber became quiet. The Council has seen enough. Humans cannot be trusted with advanced technology. You expand too fast. You fight too much. You are not ready for galactic civilization. What does that mean? John asked, though he already knew the answer would be bad. All human colonies outside. The Sol system must be abandoned within 60 days, Vexithari announced. All trade agreements with human worlds are ended immediately. All technology sharing programs are stopped. A containment barrier will be placed around your solar system. The chamber erupted in alien voices. Some aliens sounded upset about the decision. Others sounded happy. John could barely think over the noise. You are banishing us? John shouted over the sounds. The decision is final, Vexithari said. Any human ship that tries to leave the Sol system after the barrier is active will be destroyed. This is for the safety of all galactic civilization. The BC, floating lights around John began to move toward the exits. The meeting was over. 47 alien species had just voted to kick humanity out of the galaxy. John activated his communication device as soon as he reached his ship. The quantum link to Earth took several seconds to connect. When President Lisa Harper's face appeared on the screen, she looked tired. How bad is it, John? She asked. We're out, John said. Complete exile. 60 days to bring everyone home. Lisa closed her eyes. Tell me everything. John explained the Council's decision while his ship flew away from the massive station. Through the window, he could see other human ships doing the same thing. The alien ship stayed behind. Back on Earth, Lisa Harper stood in front of the emergency assembly in Geneva. Representatives from every nation sat in the large hall. The mood was dark when John's face appeared on the giant screen. They want us gone, John said from space. Every colony, every mining station, every research base, all of it. The hall exploded in angry voices. Some representatives shouted about fighting back. Others talked about trying to negotiate. A few mentioned surrender. This is impossible, said Senator Maria Santos from the American delegation. We have 12 million people living in space colonies. We can't just abandon everything we've built. The alternative is war with 47 alien civilizations, said Councillor Peter Hayes. We can't win that fight. Maybe we don't have to. Win, said a quiet voice from the back. Everyone turned to look at Dr. Nathan Cross. He was the head of Earth's Advanced Research Division. He was also the man who had designed most of the technology that made human space travel possible. Explain, President Harper said. Dr. Cross stood up. He was a thin man with gray hair and thick glasses. He looked like a professor, not a military leader. "They're afraid of us. That's why they're doing this. They think we're too dangerous, too unpredictable." "Your point?" asked Senator Santos. "Maybe. They're right," Dr. Cross said. "Maybe we are too dangerous for their little club. Maybe that's exactly what we need to be." The room became quiet. President Harper leaned forward. "What are you suggesting, Doctor?" "I'm suggesting we take our toys and go home," Dr. Cross said. "But while we're home, we don't sit around feeling sorry for ourselves. We get better. We get stronger. We become everything they're afraid we already are." "And then what?" asked Counselor Hayes. Dr. Cross smiled for the first time since the crisis began. "Then we show them what humans can really do when we stop asking for permission." President Harper looked around the room. She saw anger in some faces, fear in others. But in a few faces she saw something else. She saw determination. "Dr. Cross, I want you to start working on contingency plans immediately," she said. "Senator Santos, begin coordinating the colony evacuations. Counselor Hayes, start working on temporary housing and job programs for the returnees." She stood up and looked at the assembly. "Ladies and gentlemen, they may have kicked us out of their club, but this is not the end of human space exploration. This is just the beginning of a new chapter." 3 weeks later, the first colony ships began, arriving back in the Sol system. They brought with them not just people, but also samples of alien technology, detailed star charts, and most importantly, the knowledge of how the galaxy really worked. As the ships passed through the inner solar system, their crews looked back at the stars they were leaving behind. Most of them felt angry about being forced to abandon their homes, but some of them felt something else. Some of them felt excited about what came next. 6 months had passed since the glowing energy wall appeared around the solar system. The barrier looked beautiful from a distance, like dancing lights in space. But Jake Sullivan knew what it really was. It was a prison. Commander Sullivan stood on the observation deck of Luna Base Alpha, watching construction ships work on the biggest project in human history. Hundreds of vessels moved back and forth between the moon and nearby asteroids. They were building something the aliens had never seen before. "Status report," Jake said into his communicator. "Section 7 is complete," came the reply from Chief Engineer Ben Clark. "We're ahead of schedule on the main assembly." Jake smiled. Human workers were fast when they had something to prove. The emergency construction had brought together the best engineers from every nation on Earth. They worked together like they never had before. Down on Earth, Dr. Nathan Cross walked through the converted asteroid facility that had become his new laboratory. The place buzzed with activity day and night. Scientists who used to compete with each other now shared everything they knew. "Amy, show me the test results," Nathan said to Dr. Amy Rodriguez, his top researcher. Amy pulled up a holographic display. "The alien computer systems are more advanced than ours, but they have a weakness. They're designed for alien brains, not human brains." Nathan studied the swirling patterns on the screen. "Explain." "Human neural patterns are different," Amy said. "We think in ways that confuse their security systems. We can access parts of their technology that they never intended anyone to reach." This was the breakthrough Nathan had been hoping for. During their years in the Galactic Council, humans had traded with dozens of alien species. They had bought technology, shared research, and learned how alien systems worked. Now all that knowledge was being put to new use. In the Jupiter shipyards, Admiral Karen Stone watched as the first new warship rolled out of construction. The ship looked like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. It combined human engineering with adapted alien technology in ways that should have been impossible. "What do you think?" asked Captain Steve Morrison, who would command the new vessel. "I think the aliens are going to be very surprised," Karen said. The ship was called the ESV Defiance, and it was just the first of many. Human shipyards around. Jupiter worked around the clock. Each new ship was better than the last. Each one incorporated lessons learned from studying alien technology. But not everyone was happy with the military buildup. On Earth, Counselor Peter Hayes led protests against what he called dangerous militarization. We should be trying to make peace with the aliens, Peter said at a rally in Geneva. Building weapons will only make them more afraid of us. His words found support among many humans who still hoped to rejoin galactic civilization. They believed that if humanity showed it could be peaceful, the aliens might lift the exile. Senator Maria Santos disagreed. She stood before the World Assembly and presented what she called the Soul Doctrine. The aliens made their position clear, Maria said. They think we're too dangerous to exist alongside them. We can either prove them wrong by becoming weak, or we can prove them right by becoming strong. The debate divided humanity. Peace groups organized demonstrations. Military supporters held rallies. But while politicians argued, the scientists and engineers kept working. Dr. Cross made another breakthrough when his team figured out how to improve alien faster-than-light travel. Human modifications could make alien ships 30% faster than their original designs. How is this possible? Asked Dr. Rodriguez. Human creativity, Nathan said. Aliens follow rules. We break them. The real test came when the barrier was studied more closely. Human scientists sent probe after probe to examine the energy wall. Each probe was turned back, but each one gathered data. The barrier reads our ship's energy signatures, explained Dr. Sarah Kim, the team's physics expert. It recognizes human technology and pushes it away. What if we change the signatures? Nathan asked. Theoretically possible, Sarah said. But it would require understanding the barrier's operating principles. Nathan smiled. Then let's understand them. While the scientists worked on the barrier problem, the shipbuilders completed their first major project. A new space station appeared near Mars, bigger than anything humans had built before. It could house 50,000 people and manufacture ships, weapons, and equipment. Admiral Stone named it Sanctuary Station. If they want to keep us locked up, she said, we'll make the best prison in the galaxy. The station became a symbol of human determination. Families who had lost their homes in the colonial evacuation moved there. Young people who had grown up on distant worlds found new purpose building humanity's future. One of these young people was Lieutenant Rachel Foster. She had been born on a mining colony in the Vega system. When the exile order came, she lost the only home she had ever known. What do you think of our new home? Her friend Tony Rivera asked as they looked out at the growing station. It's not home yet, Rachel said. But it will be. Rachel and Tony represented something new. They were part of the first generation of humans who saw the galaxy not as a place where they needed permission to exist, but as a frontier waiting to be claimed. As the months passed, more changes became visible. Human children attended new schools that taught both advanced science and military tactics. Human factories produced goods that surpassed alien equivalents. Human farms in space produced more food than Earth had ever grown. The transformation was most obvious in the asteroid belt. What had once been a scattered collection of mining stations became a unified industrial complex. Raw materials flowed in from the outer system. Finished products flowed out to human settlements throughout soul space. By the end of the first year, humanity was not just surviving in exile. They were thriving. The population had grown as families reunited and new. Children were born. Technology had advanced faster than ever before. Industrial capacity had doubled. Most importantly, human confidence had returned. President Harper stood before the World Assembly again, 1 year after the exile began. The mood in the room was completely different from that first dark day. The cool aliens thought they were punishing us, she said. Instead, they freed us. For the first time in human history, we are working together without limitations. No alien rules, no galactic regulations, no restrictions on human creativity. She paused and looked around the room. They wanted to contain us. But you cannot contain the human spirit. You can only redirect it. Outside the assembly building, construction continued on the next phase of humanity's plan. The barrier still glowed in space, keeping humans locked in their home system. But inside that barrier, something unprecedented was taking shape. Humanity was becoming something the galaxy had never seen before. 2 years after the barrier went up, Dr. Amy Rodriguez stared at the numbers on her screen and could not believe what she was seeing. The mathematical formula that controlled the quarantine wall was finally broken. "Nathan, you need to see this," she called across the laboratory. Dr. Cross hurried over to her workstation. His hair was grayer now and he looked tired from months of endless work. But when he saw Amy's calculations, his eyes lit up with excitement. "The barrier assumes all biological brains work the same way," Amy explained. "But human consciousness operates differently than alien minds. The wall literally cannot see us properly." Nathan studied the data. "So if we modify our ship signatures to match human neural patterns instead of fighting against them, we should be able to pass right through," Amy finished. Within hours, the breakthrough was reported to President Harper and Admiral Stone. They met in the secure conference room beneath Geneva, where the most important decisions of the exile period had been made. "Are you certain this will work?" President Harper asked. "As certain as we can be without testing it," Nathan replied. "But I recommend we start small. 1 ship, 1 volunteer pilot." Admiral Stone already knew who that volunteer would be. Captain Steve Morrison has been asking for this mission since day 1. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of the ESV Breakthrough, a small scout ship that had been modified with the new technology. The ship looked normal from the outside, but its computer systems had been completely rebuilt based on Amy's discoveries. "All systems ready," reported his navigator, Lieutenant Dan Parker. Steve looked at the barrier ahead of them. For 2 years, every human ship that had approached that glowing wall had been turned back. Today would be different. "Take us forward, slow and steady," Steve ordered. The breakthrough moved toward the barrier. Steve held his breath as they got closer and closer to the energy field. Around the solar system, millions of humans watched the live broadcast. The ship reached the barrier. Instead of being pushed back, it passed through the wall like it was not even there. "We're through," Steve announced. "The barrier is behind us. We are in open space." The cheers could be heard from Earth to the outer planets. Humans danced in the streets, celebrated in space stations, and wept with joy in the asteroid colonies. After 2 years of exile, they were free. But President Harper was already thinking beyond celebration. She called an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. "We do not rush back into the galaxy," she announced. "We go carefully, we go quietly. We learn everything we can before they know we are out there." This decision led to Operation Silent Thunder, the most secret mission in human history. Small, hidden ships began slipping through the barrier one by one. Each ship had a specific mission: scout alien territories, map new systems, and identify opportunities for human expansion. Lieutenant Colonel Rachel Foster commanded one of these ships. The ESV Whisper was designed to be invisible to alien sensors. Rachel and her team of 12 specialists had spent months training for this mission. "First stop is the Tau Ceti system," Rachel told her crew as they passed through the barrier. "Intelligence suggests the system is unguarded but resource-rich." The Whisper moved through space without using its main engines. Instead, it drifted on solar winds and gravity currents like a piece of space debris. Alien patrols passed within kilometers and never noticed the human ship. When they reached Tau Ceti, Rachel's team found something unexpected. The system was not empty. A small alien settlement struggled to survive on the 3rd planet. These were Keplerians, a peaceful species that had once traded with humans. "They look like they are in trouble," observed Chief Science Officer Luis Martinez. "Their life support systems are failing." Rachel made a difficult decision. "We helped them, but quietly." Over the next week, Rachel's team secretly repaired the Keplerian settlement's equipment. They left behind medical supplies and food processors. The aliens never knew humans had been there, but their colony was saved. Similar missions were happening throughout the galaxy. Human ships established hidden supply bases in empty systems. They mapped asteroid fields rich in rare minerals. They identified planets suitable for human colonies. Most importantly, they gathered intelligence about the Galactic Council. Back on Earth, Dr. Cross completed his most ambitious project yet. The prototype ship ESV New Horizon represented everything humans had learned during their exile. It was faster than any alien vessel. Its weapons could pierce alien shields. Its manufacturing capabilities could build entire factories in space. This ship could establish a colony anywhere in the galaxy, Dr. Cross explained to the assembled leaders. And it could defend that colony against any threat. But the most shocking intelligence came from Rachel's team when they intercepted alien communications near the old human colonies. The Galactic Council is divided, Rachel reported during a secure transmission to Earth. At least 12 species want humans readmitted to the galaxy. They miss our trade and technology. What about the others? Asked Admiral Stone. The Centaurian hegemony and their allies want the quarantine made permanent. They have proposed hunting down any human ships found outside Sol space. This news changed everything. The galaxy was not united against humanity. Some aliens had regretted the exile decision. Others wanted to make it worse. President Harper called together her closest advisors. We need to decide what kind of power we want to be when we return. We should try diplomacy first, suggested Councillor Hayes, who still believed in peaceful solutions. Diplomacy from a position of strength, countered Senator Santos. They need to know we are not the same humans. They exiled. Dr. Cross had the final word. We should be exactly what they feared we would become. We should be everything they tried to prevent. Meanwhile, the secret missions continued. Human teams established bases in 17 different systems. They made contact with 6 alien species that had been abandoned by the Galactic Council. Each contact was carefully managed to create allies rather than enemies. Captain Tony Rivera led one of these contact missions. His ship encountered the Andromedans, a species facing extinction from environmental collapse. We can help you, Tony told the desperate alien leaders. Human technology can repair your atmosphere and clean your oceans. What do you want in return? Asked the Andromedan Chancellor. Partnership, Tony replied. Friendship, and maybe some of your system's rare metals. The Andromedans agreed immediately. They became the first alien species to form an alliance with humans since the exile. As the third year of exile began, humanity had changed completely. They were no longer the species that had begged for acceptance from the Galactic Council. They were becoming something new, something stronger. Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of the HFY Sovereign, the newest and most powerful ship in the human fleet. Around her, the third expansion fleet prepared for departure. Where to, Admiral? Asked her flag captain. Karen smiled. Everywhere. It is time to show the galaxy what humans can do when nobody is telling us we cannot do it. The fleet engaged their drives and disappeared into hyperspace. Behind them, the quarantine barrier still glowed around the Sol system. But ahead of them lay a galaxy full of possibilities. The humans were coming back, but this time they were coming back as conquerors. 5 years after Earth's banishment, Admiral Karen Stone stood on the bridge of the HFY Sovereign and watched her ships establish humanity's 100th colony since breaking free from quarantine. The galaxy had become a very different place. Colony, foundation complete, reported Captain Lisa Blake from the surface of New Terra. Population centers established, mining operations beginning, defense grid active. Karen nodded with satisfaction. This was not the slow, careful colonization of the old council days. This was rapid empire building on a scale the galaxy had never seen. Humanity had divided space into sectors. Each sector had its own specialized fleet. The agricultural fleets found worlds suitable for farming and turned them into food producers using advanced terraforming. The industrial fleets built factories around resource-rich stars. The research fleets pushed into unexplored regions, making discoveries that kept human technology advancing. The defense fleets made sure nothing threatened human expansion. Commander Lisa Blake led the newest type of human mission, First Contact Protocol Omega. Unlike the diplomatic begging of the Council era, humans now approached other species from a position of power. Approaching the Andromedan system, reported Lieutenant Mike Chen from the navigation station. Lisa studied the data on her screen. The Andromedans were dying. Their homeworld's environment was collapsing, and they had no technology to fix it. 6 months ago, they would have been ignored by the galaxy. Today, they were about to meet humans. Open communications, Lisa ordered. The face of Chancellor Zefkar appeared on the main screen. The Andromedan looked like a tall, thin human with silver skin and large black eyes. His expression showed desperation. "Unknown vessels, please state your intentions," the alien said. "I am Commander Blake of the Human Confederation," Lisa replied. "We have heard about your environmental crisis. We are here to help." Zefkar's eyes widened. "Humans? But you were exiled from the galaxy." "We heard your species was defeated and contained," Lisa smiled. "We were contained. Now we are not. And we have technology that can save your world." The Andromedan Chancellor was quiet for a long moment. "What do you want in return?" "Partnership," Lisa said simply. "Your system has rare metals we need. You have knowledge of local space routes. In exchange, we will repair your atmosphere, clean your oceans, and give you the technology to prevent future environmental collapse." It was an offer the Andromedans could not refuse. Within days, human engineering ships arrived at their world. Advanced atmospheric processors began cleaning centuries of pollution. Ocean purification systems restored dead seas. Agricultural technology turned wasteland into farmland. The Andromedans watched in amazement as human technology accomplished in weeks what their best scientists said would take centuries. "How is this possible?" Zefkar asked Lisa as they watched a dead ocean turn blue again. "Human engineering," Lisa replied. "We learned a lot during our exile." Meanwhile, the Galactic Council was finally waking up to the reality of human expansion. In the crystal chambers of Kepler Station, Chancellor Vexithari faced angry representatives from dozens of species. "How did the humans escape containment?" demanded Ambassador Koroth of the Rigelian Trade Federation. "The barrier was supposed to be perfect." "Human technology has advanced beyond our predictions," Vexithari admitted. "They have established colonies in over 30 systems. Their fleet strength now rivals our own." "This is unacceptable," hissed Lord Craxi of the Centaurian hegemony. "We must destroy them before they become stronger." But other council members disagreed. Representative Theiss of the Vegan Collective spoke up. "The humans are offering trade agreements and technology sharing. Maybe we should negotiate." "Negotiate with exiles?" Craxi snarled. "They are criminals who violated their banishment." The argument continued for hours. The council that had once been united in exiling humanity was now split on what to do about their return. The debate became meaningless when news arrived of humanity's first military action since the exile. Captain Tony Rivera commanded the 3rd Defense Fleet when the attack came. His ships were protecting the human colony of New Harmony when Draconian Empire vessels appeared without warning. 12 enemy ships decloaking, reported his tactical officer. "They are targeting the colony." Tony had read the intelligence reports about the Draconians. They were aggressive raiders who attacked weak targets for slaves and resources. They thought humans were still the desperate exiles from 5 years ago. "All ships, battle stations," Tony ordered. "Show them how wrong they are." The Draconian commander sent a message. "Surrender your colony and we will allow your ships to flee. Resist and we will destroy everything." Tony's response was simple. "Come and take it." The battle lasted exactly 11 minutes. Human ships equipped with quantum phase weapons and regenerative hull armor destroyed 8 Draconian vessels and captured the other 4. Not a single human ship was even damaged. The captured Draconian commander could not believe what had happened. "Impossible. Our ships are superior to all known technology." "Your ships were superior," Tony corrected. 5 years ago, human technology does not stand still. News of the victory spread across the galaxy within days. Species that had dismissed humans as defeated exiles suddenly realized their mistake. The humans were not just back. They were stronger than ever. The psychological impact was enormous. For centuries, the Draconian Empire had been feared throughout the galaxy. Their ships were considered invincible. Now they had been crushed by humans in less than 12 minutes. Admiral Stone received reports of the battle while her fleet established 3 new colonies in a single day. She was not surprised by the easy victory. Our ships are designed by humans who spent 5 years studying every weakness in alien technology, she explained to her staff. We know exactly how to beat them. But the military victory was less important than the political message it sent. Humanity was no longer asking for permission to exist in the galaxy. They were taking what they wanted and defending it successfully. Message reached Earth just as President Harper was meeting with the Confederation Council on Mars. The council now included representatives from 12 species that had voluntarily joined humanity's growing empire. The galaxy is responding exactly as we predicted, reported Dr. Cross, who had become humanity's chief strategic planner. Some species want to join us. Others want to destroy us. None of them can ignore us. What about the Galactic Council? Asked Senator Santos. They are paralyzed by indecision, Dr. Cross replied. Half want war, half want negotiations. They cannot agree on anything. President Harper stood and looked out at the red landscape of Mars, where human cities now thrived under protective domes. Then we continue expanding until they make up their minds. The expansion continued at an incredible pace. Human fleets appeared in new systems every week. Some systems were empty and ready for colonization. Others contained alien species that chose to join the growing Confederation rather than oppose it. By the end of the 5th year, humanity controlled or influenced nearly a quarter of known space. Their population had grown to over 5 billion spread across hundreds of worlds. Their industrial capacity exceeded any single council species. Most importantly, they had proven that the Galactic Council's authority was not absolute. 12 species had left the Council to join humanity. Others were considering following their example. The old galactic order was crumbling. The humans who had been banished as too dangerous were creating a new order based on merit, innovation, and voluntary cooperation, rather than ancient traditions and committee decisions. Admiral Stone stood on her flagship's bridge and looked at star charts showing human expansion. Red dots marked human colonies. Blue areas showed human influence. The map looked like a virus spreading across the galaxy, but to Karen it looked like freedom. 10 years after Earth's banishment, the galaxy was no longer the same. President Lisa Harper looked out the window of her office on the space station orbiting Mars and saw the future of humanity spreading across the stars. The Human Confederation now controlled 1/3 of known space. Over 15 billion humans lived on 600 different worlds. The Defense Force operated more ships than the old Galactic Council's entire fleet. Most shocking of all, 24 alien species had voluntarily joined the Confederation. The final reports are ready, announced Ambassador Carlos Mendez as he entered Harper's office. Carlos had replaced John Martinez as humanity's chief diplomat, but his job was very different now. Instead of begging for acceptance, he negotiated from a position of strength. What do the numbers say? Harper asked. Human industrial output exceeds any 3 council species combined, Carlos replied. Our population growth rate is triple the galactic average. Our technology advancement is happening faster than their analysts can track. Harper nodded. The transformation was remarkable. Humanity had not just survived exile. They had used it to become the most powerful force in the galaxy. The change was most obvious on Mars, where the Confederation Science Council was meeting. Dr. Nathan Cross, now 70 years old but still brilliant, stood before an audience that included humans, Andromedans, reformed Draconians, and representatives from dozens of other species. Today, we announce our greatest breakthrough, Nathan said. Dimensional fold technology. The audience gasped. Dimensional fold would allow travel not just between star systems, but between entire galaxies. While the old Galactic Council argued about trade routes within the Milky Way, humanity was preparing to leap beyond it entirely. The first intergalactic ship will launch within the year, Nathan continued. The age of single galaxy civilization is ending. But not everyone in the galaxy was ready to accept the new reality. On Kepler Station, Chancellor Vexthari faced the biggest crisis in Council history. Half the member species wanted to declare war on humanity. The other half wanted to make peace. "The humans must be stopped," declared Lord Craxy of the Centaurian hegemony. "They are expanding too fast. Soon they will control the entire galaxy." "And then what?" asked Representative Theiss of the Vegan Collective. "Our fleets cannot defeat them. Our technology cannot match them. War would be suicide. Better to die, fighting than to live as slaves," Craxy snarled. But Vexithari was thinking about survival, not pride. She had watched human expansion for 10 years. She had seen their technology advance and their population grow. Most importantly, she had seen how they treated species that joined them voluntarily versus those that opposed them. The Andromedans now had clean worlds and advanced technology. The reformed Draconians who had surrendered after their defeat were prospering as Confederation members. But species that continued to attack human colonies found their own worlds blockaded and their trade routes disrupted. "I am calling for a special session," Vexithari announced. "We will discuss formal recognition of the Human Confederation." The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Craxy's faction was furious. "You cannot legitimize these criminals. They are no longer criminals," Vexithari replied. "They are a power that we must deal with, whether we like it or not." The request for formal talks reached Earth 3 days later. President Harper read the message with amusement. The same aliens who had banished humanity as too dangerous now wanted to negotiate as equals. "What do you think?" she asked her cabinet. "I think they are scared," replied Senator Santos, who had become Secretary of Defense. "They see our expansion and realize they cannot stop it." "Should we negotiate?" asked Councillor Hayes, still hoping for peaceful solutions. "Yes," Harper said, "but on our terms." The meeting was arranged for Kepler Station, the same place where humanity had been exiled 10 years earlier. But when Ambassador Carlos Mendez arrived, he came with a fleet of 50 human warships. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer the weak party in these negotiations. Carlos sat across from Chancellor Vexithari in the same chamber where John Martinez had once stood alone and desperate. Now Carlos had the backing of an empire that spanned hundreds of worlds. "The Galactic Council wishes to discuss mutual recognition," Vexithari began carefully. "The Human Confederation is willing to listen," Carlos replied. "But we will not accept any limitations on our expansion or sovereignty." The negotiations took 3 weeks. The final agreement, called the Treaty of Kepler, formally recognized both the Galactic Council and the Human Confederation as legitimate powers with separate spheres of influence. More importantly, it established humanity as an equal to the Council, not a member begging for acceptance. While diplomats negotiated, humanity's expansion continued. The newest ships of the exploration fleet pushed into uncharted regions of space, finding new worlds and new species every month. Captain Sarah Wells commanded the ESV Destiny, humanity's first intergalactic exploration vessel. Her crew included not just humans but Andromedans, reformed Draconians, and members of 6 other Confederation species. "Fold drive charging," reported Chief Engineer Mark Thompson from the engine room. Sarah looked at the swirling lights of the Andromeda Galaxy through the main viewer. "All stations report ready for intergalactic jump." "Navigation ready," called Lieutenant Emma Foster, daughter of the famous Rachel Foster who had led the first secret missions beyond the quarantine. "Communications ready," added Ensign Alex Rivera, son of Captain Tony Rivera, who had won the first battle against the Draconians. The children of humanity's exile were now leading the next phase of expansion. "Engage full drive," Sarah ordered. The Destiny disappeared from the Milky Way in a flash of light. Seconds later, it reappeared in the Andromeda Galaxy, 2.5 million light-years from Earth. "Jump successful," Emma reported. "We are now farther from Earth than any human has ever traveled." Sarah smiled. "Then let's see what is out here." Back in the Milky Way, the old Galactic Council continued its slow debates about trade regulations and border disputes. They were still thinking like the rulers of a single galaxy, but humanity was already moving beyond those limitations. Within months, reports came back from the Andromeda Galaxy: new worlds, new resources, new species to contact, and potentially welcome into the Confederation. President Harper stood before the Confederation Assembly on New Geneva, humanity's capital world orbiting Alpha Centauri. Representatives from 47 species filled the Great Hall. 10 years ago, the galaxy rejected us, she said. They called us too dangerous, too aggressive, too unpredictable for galactic civilization. The audience listened quietly. They were right, Harper continued. We were too dangerous for their limited vision of what civilization could be. We were too aggressive for their cautious approach to exploration. We were too unpredictable for their rigid bureaucracy. She paused and looked around the room. But those qualities that made us unfit for their club are exactly what made us capable of building something better. The applause was thunderous. Humans cheered alongside Andromedans, Draconians, and dozens of other species that had chosen humanity's dynamic expansion over the Council's static traditions. Outside the assembly building, construction ships worked. On the next phase of humanity's growth, new shipyards, new colonies, new routes to distant galaxies. The humans who had been banished from the Council had built an empire that spanned multiple galaxies. They had proven that rejection could become opportunity, that exile could become freedom, and that the species, considered too dangerous for one vision of civilization, could create an entirely new and better one. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what humanity had intended.